Aldeguer a potential first Grand Prix win or even a first podium. If he does finish on the podium this weekend, he would become the youngest rider ever to achieve that in the Moto2 class, taking the record away from Scott Redding, who's held that particular honour ever since he scored his first Moto2 podium at the 2010 Indianapolis Grand Prix. That's the kind of history that Aldeguer is looking to make. And for the Boscoscuro speed-up team in general, looking to put a rather disappointing Portuguese Grand Prix behind them.
Yeah, it definitely was well below expectations, wasn't it? We all thought that Aldeguer and Alonso Lopez would be two of the names potentially vying for the championship this year, but well, Alonso crashed out of the first Grand Prix of 23, and Aldeguer just came home in 13th and very nearly crashed out himself on the first lap of the race. A couple of riders behind had to take avoidant action as he was basically hanging off the right side of his bike coming through turn 3 on lap 1 in Portimao, but definitely Aldeguer has looked a lot more in range of the leaders here this weekend. Just looking at the pace yesterday, as we hear in our headsets, it sounds as though someone has crashed. That's one.
Salach, was it in the background?
I think
it looked
was,
like
yeah.
Philip Salach, a sort of flash of the bright yellow crash helmet. We're looking at his teammate at the moment, Jeremy Alcoba, and it is Philip Salach. Pole position a week ago, and unfortunately he's gone from hero to zero this weekend. Salach, who was second quickest yesterday, and he doesn't look as if he's in a rush to get back on that Gresini Racing Kalex. So first in Q2 last weekend, last in Q2 this weekend.
Yeah, and rather worryingly, he was holding his left collarbone there as he was walking around from that incident, trying to straighten out his shoulder. You can see there's a little ginger around the ribs and the collarbone on the left side. So let's hope that Philip Salach is okay for the race tomorrow. That would be a great shame if he was to miss out, because he has been in some great form. Second in combined practice standings over the weekend, looking really good as well in terms of rhythm. Salach does look like a changed figure this year, someone that can maybe consistently be a bit further towards the front and maybe vying for the podium as he was in Portimao a week ago. But that looks as though that is the end of his session.
Certainly looks like it, doesn't it? And he's gone down at turn 9, which is a fast old place to go off. We're running on board with the Czech rider now. This is the long and winding turn 8. As he tips it in to 9, the front end didn't want to cooperate. There is Salach, whether that is pain or just frustration at a potential pole position challenge going away, potentially the latter. We hope that Philip Salach hasn't sustained any injuries that could prevent him from taking part in tomorrow's 21-lap Grand Prix. If he does, though, he'll start from 18th on the grid. Here is Alonso Lopez, current provisional pole sitter, although we're at a very early stage in this qualifying 2 session. It's a very messy Portuguese Grand Prix weekend. Of course, copped that long lap penalty for taking Bo Benschneider out of the Grand Prix. Although he was quickest in the mixed conditions this morning, was the Spaniard for the Boscoscuro speed-up team. Lopez looking to leave the Portuguese GP weekend firmly in the rear-view mirror. As we look at a number of our pole position contenders, Pedro Acosta, World Championship leader, leading a train of 4 riders. Dixon, though, is the fastest of them at the back of this group, as Acosta does a 43.0, but Jake Dixon, a 142.586. That is just 0.04 of a second away from the all-time lap record here in Termas.
Wow, quite a lap time from Jake Dixon there. 0.6 faster than anything we've seen in Moto2 so far this weekend. Dixon absolutely nailed that lap time there. Fantastic stuff from the Englishman.
Got his tactics spot on there, didn't he? Pedro Acosta was leading that group. Jake Dixon able to use them as a marker up ahead. And a 142.586. That is comfortably the fastest lap we've seen all weekend. And credit to Aaron Canet elsewhere. He's also managed to drop into the 142s. He's currently second.
Yeah, decent stuff from Canet. Tony Arbolino as well, who was the pace setter yesterday, up there in 3rd. So it's the usual suspects in many respects, although Barry Baltus hasn't been too far towards the front so far this weekend. He's got himself into 5th, which is a decent ride, and Darren Binder bringing his speed through Q1 into this Q2 session. But Dixon yesterday, he was saying, you know what, I feel like I'm in a great moment, and that's certainly shown in qualifying so far. I mean, Dixon's kind of transformation from a really difficult pre-season to similar lap times. So like we said at the top of the broadcast, it doesn't look as though Pedro will quite have a clear advantage like he did in Portimao. And well, both him and Canet really the only men able to get within a shot of Jake Dixon's time of 42.5.
Well, as the furious work goes on at the Grassini box, Aaron Canet sharing a word in the Pons box. He currently sits in the middle of the second row. Somkiat Chantra has just moved up onto the second row of the grid. A 1:42.992 for the tie rider, who was perhaps as impressive as anyone in practice yesterday afternoon. If he starts from the second row, he will certainly feel he's got a victory challenge in him from there, and it looks as if the work has been done for Filip Salac, so his hopes of a pole position challenge are not done yet. The Czech rider heads out on track once again then with 4.5 minutes to go. If he shifts on his out lap, he should have enough for 2 time laps at the end of this session. I guess the main thing for Salac to do now over the next minute and a half is just to get that heart rate under control.
Absolutely. A few deep breaths, I think, are in order for Filip Salac as he takes his out lap around here. We saw Tony Arbolino in a pretty animated discussion there with Lucio Nicastro, his crew chief. Jack, do you have an update on Arbolino and what is going on?
Yeah, looks like it was a bit of a breakdown in communication from the Mark VDS squad. You saw the picture of Arbolino coming into pit lane, instantly looking over to his crew chief and asking, where's the next rear tyre, guys? Before they had to run into the back of the box, quickly get it out. Luckily, they've managed to fix it in time, and he's just rolling out of pit lane now. It's going to be a similarly tight job for the speed-up boys as well. Alonso Lopez just rolled down pit lane, and before he parked up, he was pointing at the rear tyre. So now they're burying away, trying to get a new rear tyre into the back of that speed-up to allow him to get out and at least set one fast lap.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. We did see those pictures of Alonso Lopez coming down pit lane, gesticulating pretty frantically at the team to get a new tyre ready. He certainly needs it. Currently, Alonso Lopez down in 17th. Quite surprised by the performance of the speed-up Boscuro boys in this session. We know this is a great track for that chassis. Lopez 17th, Aldeguer just in 13th.
Well, Celestino Vietti, last year's winner, is a rider to watch. We're watching Pedro Acosta running off at turn 7, but Vietti is up at the halfway stage of his lap. There you can see on the bottom of your screen Acosta perhaps looking for a bit of empty space on track. So too is Aldeguer. You can just see under Pedro Acosta's right armpit there as we rode on board with the World Championship leader. But Vietti in the zone. Chantra also up at the halfway stage of his lap, but Vietti, if he can hold that, he might just squeeze onto the front row of the grid. He's currently in 10th. Whatever happens, as long as he doesn't get too held up by Barry Baltus here, Vietti could well move up into the first couple of rows of the grid. Chantra, also a rider to watch. Further back, final corner complete for Celestino Vietti. He moves up into 4th position, just a 10th of a second away from current provisional pole sitter Jake Dixon. Chantra also emerges from the final corner, and he takes provisional pole with a brand new all-time lap record, and it was all in the final sector of the lap.
Fantastic stuff from Somkiat Chantra. He's been, well, compulsive viewing all weekend long, the way he's been riding that Idemitsu Honda Team Asia bike, and Sam Lowe's up into 11th, and another improvement will be needed from the Englishman with 2 minutes to go.
This is not over yet. We're watching Salac, who's on his first lap. He's in touch at the first sector, but personal best, overall best first sectors for Canet, who's a 10th and a half up, for Acosta, who hasn't come in for new tyres that we've seen in this session, from Gonzalez and also from Joe Roberts. Canet is really pushing on. He's still a 10th of a second inside Chantra halfway around this lap, but as we saw from the tie rider, he's so good in that final sector of the lap. Canet's going to need a bit of a buffer as he goes into this final sequence of corners. We ride on board with the 40 now.
Yeah, pitches into turn 9, then flicks it right through turn 10, and then around this long, fabulous turn 11 turn. Is that Salac just ahead? I think it is. You can see Canet has got another red sector through sector number 3. He's 0.05 of a second up.
Into the final sequence of corners, which weren't very kind on a Canet last year, as he couldn't get past Iagora in the 21 lap Grand Prix. Will he start from the very front tomorrow? Just the final corner to go, and Canet slots into pole position, just 7 thousandths of a second between him and Chantra. The Pons team like what they see. Canet now up onto the front row of the grid, and Acosta, we ride on board with him now. He's down onto the second row of the grid now. Can he rectify that? He crosses the line and fails to improve. He stays 4th with Vietti and Gonzalez now alongside him on row 2.
Decent stuff from Gonzalez. He topped the first practice session of the weekend. Comes here on the back of 5th place. I think he's had 4 top 6 finishes now on the bounce as the number 18, one of the emerging men in the Moto2 class. Jake Dixon went out on a fresh rear tyre. He was sitting on top of the pile a couple of minutes ago, but Jake not really able to set a similar lap time with the new rear tyre, and he's half a second off through sector number 2 currently. What about Alonso Lopez down in 18th, Lewis?
Sliding through turn 6. That's of course when we saw Borja Gomez going off in qualifying 1, but that soft rear tyre giving a good grip for Lopez at the moment, isn't it? A tenth of a second down. I mean, anything's really an improvement for Lopez at this stage of the session. Currently our slowest rider in this session, and the checkered flag is out, so any mistakes on this lap would leave Lopez back on the 6th row of the grid. Vietti's not giving up on this just yet. He's also a shade up at the 2nd sector of his lap. Acosta is also in touch. This is going to go right the way down to the wire and in Lopez. Qualifying 2. Lopez then
he's in
coming
touch
into the final sequence of corners.
Yeah, sorry to cut in over you there, Lewis, but he is in touch, just 500ths off. Coming through the 3rd sector, pitches through turn number 14. Lopez takes the checker flag, and he goes pole with his final lap. Where did that come from? Another new lap record of this Termas Rio Hondo circuit.
And delight for Lopez as he punches the tank. Canet won't believe what he sees as he looks over to his right and sees the big screen. That old-time lap record isn't enough. Lopez has beaten him. Acosta currently 5th. Can he move up? Crosses the line, and he will stay at best 5th on the grid. Chantra, can he retain top spot or regain it? He can't. 3rd for him, and Celestino Vietti with a 142.6. He will complete the 2nd row of the grid tomorrow, but it all came down to that final sector as we see contact there into turn 1 after the checker flag has been completed, and calm finally descends on Termas Rio Hondo, and Alonso Lopez, that brand new rear tyre, did the trick. Pole position from P18 at one point, P1 the next.
Fantastic stuff from Alonso Lopez. I was wondering what exactly was going on, because he's been a bit subdued of late. Hasn't started the season in the manner that we thought he would. That is his first pole position in the Moto2 class. His previous best is 2nd place at the Red Bull Ring last year. This is the first time that he's taken top spot. So we've got Boscoscuro first, and that was how it was this time a year ago as well, Lewis.
So back-to-back poles in. Termas for the Boscoscuro-backed speed-up team. Aaron Canet, he will start just as he did last weekend from 2nd on the grid. He's got a bit fed up of seeing a number 2 next to his name, but I'm sure he'll settle for that at one point when he saw an all-time